Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the Otsego City Council meeting. Tonight is Monday, October 14th. Audra, can you have the record show that our city attorney, city planner, city engineer, all council members are present along with our assistant city administrator and our city administrator. At this time, I'll ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item of business this evening is the open forum. This is the portion of the meeting where you can come to the podium and state your name and address and limit comments to 5 minutes or less. Would anyone like to speak at this time? This is for the open. Are you here for one of the public hearing items?
Yes.
Okay, yes, we will allow you to speak at that time. Okay. All right. Anyone here for open forum? All right, then we will close the open forum and move up to consider item 2 for our agenda approval. Does anyone have anything that they would like to add or delete at this time? I am asking to, I have a question on item 3.4. There is a duplicate, so we can just pull that down to item 6.1, please. Does anyone else have anything? Otherwise, a motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ryan, seconded by Jeff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to our consent agenda. A motion would be in order.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Ryan, seconded by Brittany. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to item 4.1 under our public hearing. This is an assessment for the 2024 street renewal project. I will turn this over to our city engineer and our city administrator. Who's going first?
City Engineer Wagner, please. Thank you, Mayor. This is the 2024 street renewal project. We've been doing these for about 10 years. The project location for this year was Vassar Oak Groves 3rd and 4th with one separate PID parcel. There are 65 parcels in that area. This is south of 85th Street. And then there's the other area is Hall's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd edition, which is east of OD, north of 85th, and south of County State Highway 39. And there are 81 parcels in that project location. So prior to the project, we went out and every year the city staff reviews the city streets and determines a PCI or a pavement condition index. And the areas and these two locations were the worst in the city, which required the street renewal project to bring them back up to a much better street. So Vassar Oak Groves was a PCI level of 45 and Hall's Addition 1st, 2nd, 3rd was a PCI of 54. Anything below that 60 range is getting to be a pretty poor street, and like to go in and renew that street so that it can go on for another 40 years. The last time that work was done on these was the 1999 overlays, which was 25 years ago. And they, not quite the same street renewal process that we did on this one. So then the next one shows the streets as they were prior to the project. And you can see the amount of degradation that's been done to them over that time period. There's quite a few cracks, block cracking, alligator cracking, a lot of patches that the city crews have done for that time period. The next slide shows what the improvements were for Vassar, Oak Grove's 3rd and 4th. Due to the width of the road, we tried to keep the road the same width because if we build it and we build it up here, the slopes would have gotten steeper, so we removed some of the material in order to match the slopes and the driveways. So we did a full depth reclamation, which means we grind up the pavement with the gravel below it. We removed 3.5 inches of that to make room for the 3.5 inches of new material. Rebuilt it to the 20 feet wide that it was before, matched the driveways, replaced any centerline culverts. Those were metal culverts. They were replaced with concrete culverts. And they shape and compact that reclaimed material. And then they placed 2 lifts for a total of 3.5 inches of asphalt. And then they redo the shouldering with some of the reclaimed material that came off the street and redo, again, any of the driveways to match into that road. So for the other project, it's the slopes aren't nearly as bad. So we were able to keep the material within the road, add some strength to the road. So we again did a full depth reclamation, replaced any of the centerline culverts, rebuilt that road to 24 feet wide, shaped, compacted that reclaimed material. The road's elevation did increase 3 to 4 inches. But we matched the driveways to that and the slopes to that. And then placed that 3.5 inches of material, 2 lifts, and then shouldered with reclaimed material. And in the last week or so, in some areas, they've brought in topsoil to go over the areas that the shoulders were a little wider than we would like, so that they could grow grass up close to the street, but not directly against the street. We like that reclaimed material. It holds the edge of the pavement so it doesn't break off when vehicles errantly drive a little bit off the road or they're parking off the street, and just hold it in case there's the school buses and heavier equipment like the snow plows and the garbage trucks. If we don't have that shoulder there to hold the edge, you will have break off occur, and then of course the road degrades. So after the project, we have some photos here. These first 2, I believe, the first 3 here are all at Vassar Oak Grove Estates with the new road in place and the shouldering material on either side. And then these 3 photos, I'm pretty sure are of Hall's Addition. You can see the road's a little wider. The slopes on the ditches are not quite as steep. And you can see the shouldering material along the edges. So for the proposed assessment, it goes up to 20% of the total project costs, up to $1,092 for each lot. So because in this assessment, this project, our bid was $1,057,000. 20% of that is $211,000. You take the $211,000 divided by the $146,000, it was $1,449, and that's greater than the maximum. So the maximum of $1,092 was used as the proposed assessment, and the assessment roll, I believe, is in your packets if you would like to look at them. And if we looked at this through a 10-year assessment rate at 4.4, which is what the city can get bonds for. And so it would be $167 a year and reduced to $114 through the 10-year assessment rate. Or if these parcels can come in and pay, I think it's before November, something to make sure it gets off of their tax roll for next year.
Yeah, Mayor, Council, residents can pay in full or partially pay, assuming the council adopts the assessment before November 15th, and each year thereafter before November. Pay off. And we do send a letter to each property that would receive an assessment if this were adopted. Outline that further.
So we're conducting the public hearing here in the next few minutes. And then after that, council can consider a resolution adopting that assessment or not.
The engineer Wagner took all my slides, so. That's the presentation, so yeah, next step would be for the council.
Okay. All right, at this time, we will open the public hearing. This is the portion where you can come to the podium, state your name and address, and limit comments regarding the 2024 street renewal project. Would anyone like to speak at this time? Okay.
So my name is Bryce Zabel. I've lived out here 40 years. Okay, I was born and raised here. I actually bought my childhood home. For years, we've had problems with plow trucks, everything else backing into my driveway because I live on the corner of 80th and Needham. We've warned everybody, we've talked to the city, everything else. Now, during this road renewal process, as you guys call it, damage was done to my driveway. And as I believe it was you that just said that you did your due diligence or whatever, and I'm not knocking on you, I'm just irritated at the situation. I'm not taking out on you. I apologize if that's what it looks like, okay? Before any of this starts. So you did your due diligence or whatever to make sure that the road was pretty much level and everything was an ease in like it was before, which my driveway was even with the road, okay? Well, I've got a giant hole in the bottom of my driveway. Because once again, graders and smooth roller drums and dump trucks loaded with everything else backing into my driveway and destroying my driveway. Okay. So now on top of that, I got to pay a couple $1,000s or whatever for this road that didn't need to be replaced in the first place because my road wasn't that bad. It's been sealed multiple times, everything else. There was none of those pictures showed anything with my road where there's a crack maybe every 50 feet at best. So I want to know who's going to pay for my driveway if I got to pay that $2,000 to fix some road that didn't need to be fixed. And I want to know who gave the authority to tell me that I can't go to my house or leave my house while they were working on that project. Because I work 14 hours a day. When I come home, I don't want to sit on 85th and wait for an hour to get to my house. I pay good money for my house. This is a major issue. And it wasn't just one time, it was multiple times. And I admit, you guys probably heard about it from Knife River because I don't put up with that crap. I drove straight down their brand new road. I didn't give a shit. I worked 14 hours. And then they were telling me I couldn't go home. This is ridiculous. And I'm not the only one. I've got multiple neighbors that complained of the same thing. I had one neighbor that actually sat on the side of 85th for 2 hours because they wouldn't let them. And they're an elderly neighbor. They're over 60 years old. And I know for a fact they got health problems. And they wouldn't even let them go home. This is a big issue. And if this is a company that you guys are going to have do your roads, you can stop at my property line and you can skip my shit. When the road gets that bad, I'll pay to have it done or I'll bring somebody in to do it. I don't ever want this shit to go on again. This is ridiculous. They had both Oakwood and Needham completely blocked off.
Ron, comments about the driveway.
I didn't hear anything about a driveway being used as construction turnaround point.
I actually talked to the Knife River guy because after I drove down through the ditch and around their machines that they had blocking the driveway or the road, their Knife River pickup, which I believe was the foreman on the job, was parked directly in the middle of my driveway. Multiple times. And I did give him the okay to park his pickup on the side or even in my ditch and asked him very politely multiple times. And then after I would leave for work and my truck wasn't there, my wife would go to leave to go pick up my daughter from school because she's sick and everything else. And she couldn't get out of the damn driveway. She had to drive down through my front yard up onto the ditch or through the ditch onto the road to get out because they're blocking her in. And I work for a toll company. I mean, I toll for Knife River all the time. A lot of the guys are super nice, whatever, but there's just certain crews or whatever that they're ridiculous. And it happens with every company. I understand that. But the only way to stop that kind of crap from happening is for somebody from the city to be out there monitoring this, which I tow for a living. I'm going through all these construction areas on the daily. I work with the sheriffs all the time. I'm in and out of every different neighborhood in the surrounding area. And there's no city members, nobody regulating anything. It's just the road crews.
Mayor, we did have a construction observer on the site. And we did send out letters with that information for that person to be either called me or call that person as the resident construction observer. I'm not sure if you received that letter, but there was a letter that did go out.
Yeah, the only letter I got was this right here, which is the notice of the hearing on a proposed assessment. That's the only letter I got. I check that mailbox every day.
There was one that went out to all parcels or attempted to go to all parcels, describing the project timing and our construction observer's name and my name on the project too.
And
with
that,
phone numbers,
that would have been what month that went out?
probably late July. A
Okay.
week or two before the project started.
Okay.
I think the project started August 6th. And was done about a month or so after that.
Yeah, it didn't last long.
Yeah, it was
but-
probably towards the end of, early September around Labor Day, the project was pretty much done except for some touch up. What Mr. Abel might be describing is when they were actually doing the paving, I assume, they would have held you.
Oh,
up.
no, they blocked it off when so I ride bike. Okay, I'm an avid motorcycle rider, whatever. I'm friends with a bunch of MC clubs, everything else. So there's a bunch of different rides that I go on. Okay. And I went to leave the Saturday that they started milling the road. They did the inside and I went to pull out and the grader actually pulled over into the non-graded side and told me that I can't go that way. I said, okay, that's fine. I'll turn around because I'm assuming that there was guys working, whatever. I'm a blue collar guy. I know how it goes. Okay. So I went to turn around. He goes, no, you got to go back to your house.
Yeah, the point that we've made with the contractor on this was that this is a horseshoe style
Hmm.
road system.
Yep.
But they have
And
to
if
be
you
able
can-
to get
you
out.
can Work on one
Yeah.
side, and then everybody can either get out. on the
Yep.
other
And
side.
like I said, my driveway goes straight out 80.
Yep.
And so I went to take a left, go out and eat him. They stopped. Said, no, you can't go this way. Okay, cool, whatever. So pulled back, went to go the other way. He goes, no, both sides are closed off. You can't go down them. You can't, whatever. Give it an hour and a half. And I laughed at him.
If we had
So-
heard about, if I had heard about it, I would have made a phone call and made sure that they allowed access, for all the property owners. I can see 10, 15 minutes while they're paving.
And
across
see,
the
that's
front.
fine. When you're telling me it's gonna be 2 hours,
Yes.
hour and a half,
That's
not
unacceptable.
acceptable.
Yes.
so yeah. And I got a bad temper. Like I was nice enough to warn you, whatever. I got a real bad temper. I don't put up with a lot of crap. I've had a lot of crap go on in my life. So
Well, there's nothing that we can do at this point.
No.
To go
Yeah.
back in
but I
time,
need you to
but,
be aware.
Yes.
A
It's
closed mouth
understood,
doesn't get fed.
and it will be understood at the next pre-con, with any contractor that the city hires to reinstate exactly what we told them in this one, but we will explain the problems that we had.
Yep.
Access this.
So now the issue on my driveway.
Yes.
I dropped down 6 inches into my driveway because they only put an apron about this long off the road.
And it created a hole, you said.
Yeah, and the whole center of my driveway is caving in. I've actually packed dirt in it to try to get rid of it because I've got $200,000-300,000 in vehicles.
Well, we can review,
So-
they have aerial photos so we can see
Yeah.
the cracks and damages to
Yep.
a driveway before and after, and we can look at.
Yeah, the only thing the aerial photos don't show is that my driveway is actually pushed down.
Madam,
And they wasn't just backing the back end into my driveway. Okay, it's their whole trucks were past my culvert. I've got a tree that basically is at where it's like, I think at 30 feet from the center of the road. Because my old man is a dink and whatever, and that's where he planted the tree because he wanted to know where the city property ended and his property was. And they were past that tree.
Well, let's have, myself come out, review it with you.
That's
I'll
fine.
have a discussion with
Yeah, I
the
don't mind.
contractor.
Yeah.
If we, Steve, but I can take also look at the, there's being photos that you drive by and you can
Yeah.
look at the driveways prior to the project, and then we can look at what the project looks like after.
That's fine. That's fine.
Mr. Zabel, did you sign in so Ron has your
No,
number?
I will leave my name and number on the deal for you.
Okay,
And I'll just.
Ron
put
will
an
be the one-
asterisk next to my name.
Ron will be the one that will be
That's
contacting
fine.
you.
I'll put a little asterisk right in front of my name that way.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
sir.
All right. Any other? Yes.
Hi, I'm Candace Johnson. I live on the corner of 85th and Auburn. We've seen Ron before at our house. I just have a couple questions on this assessment. First of all, question is this interest 5832 times at 4.4%. I'm not sure where that calculation came from because believe it should be 4805, which is, you guys can figure that out, the math on it. If you take a look at that, please. The other thing is, what if you sell your house before 2034? Is there a lien on your house? How are you going to do this? Because are you expecting us to pay it in full when we're getting ready to sell our home? Or are you saying, you pass it on to the new owners? I mean, that's not very clear in this letter. The other thing is, it's not the amount of the money. I understand that money. That's not a big deal. But the other thing is, the question is, you're going to bill it out. How are you going to bill it? Are you just going to send a bill to the people and expect payment by such and such date? If not, you pay an interest on that. Things aren't very clear in here. This letter is a little bit clumsy for me. The reason being is that I like to know how are you going to do this. And a lot of us don't get much mail anymore because we get email, we get, text messages. That's a lot of us pay our bills that way. So that is spelled out in here. And the other thing is that this comes out now. We got a letter saying from the construction company, they're going to come around, do our roads, and we understand that. Then comes this. Is this not the cart before the horse? I mean, why wasn't this said, we're talking about doing this? Maybe I missed something. Maybe 10 months ago you were talking about it and I missed the minutes or something. But it's like after the fact, you're going to get a bill. And nobody said you're going to have a bill until we get this letter. And I just think that's a little bit remiss on the fact that all these people, and not just us, we've been here for 27 years. So we're not new to the neighborhood. And only one more thing, and then I'll go sit down. When we asked to have flags put out where our sprinkler heads were, somebody brought those out. And they gave it to us.
From the construction company?
I believe it was a construction
And it
company.
was probably our construction observer, Andy, handed them out to.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, after she requested,
yeah,
The
Gary
flags,
Gary
yes.
did, my husband. Well, then, when they took care of the road, but they buried them 9 inches deep. So we had to call you again. And Gary spent the last week digging them up because we're having the system blowing out because we have a sprinkling system. So we did that and they came and which they did a nice job. They put the new dirt on and they sprayed grass and whatever. But it just kind of was haphazard. It was not quite not that we expect perfection, because we've lived here a lot of years and a lot of things, and it's a very good community for us. But I just think this is a little bit, needs more detail and explanation as to how do you do this and what if you do sell your house? And the other thing is that maybe notifications like this should be, before we got the construction letter, could
Mayor?
have been.
So
handled.
those,
Can I?
yeah,
My portion?
you do your portion and then stay there because he's gonna answer your question
Okay,
and
So the
he's gonna
sprinkler
answer.
system,
we're good
we
now.
do know about that, and we were gonna come
Yep.
in, we have an allowance within the project to repair anybody's sprinklers that may have changed elevation because the road changed elevation.
Yep.
So if you've been in contact with Andy, our construction observer, he has your name down. If not, you can give me your name
Okay.
and number right now, and
Well, there,
it may not be able to be done this fall because the blowout has occurred. We don't want to re-energize your system to raise, so it would be something that would be completed.
but they've already been
Spring.
lifted. So,
They already
well,
moved them.
very good. Yeah, we did it ourselves.
If you had your company do it and you have a cost, a bill, you can submit that to us and it'll come against the
So
the
how about
allowance within the project.
the owner of the house is my husband who did it.
Okay.
So did he submit the bill?
That
Unfortunately,
might be a little more difficult.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying is,
Yeah,
we took care of the problem.
Yep.
I just see that, it's like,
and then the other item that you brought up was notice of the project. We did have an assessment hearing. We did notify everyone on the project that there was an assessment hearing coming up. That was, excuse me, a public hearing. This is the assessment hearing, but there was a public hearing that was held back in March. And prior to that, we had a neighborhood meeting that was just an open house that everybody could come and discuss the project with us without the rest of the council being here, more of a easier format for people to discuss the
was
project.
anything sent out in March or was it just,
Yeah, we sent out one letter for the open house and there was people that came and attended that. I think the mayor, did you attend that?
the one in March.
And then we had another assessment hearing with public hearing, with the full council in March. And people attended that.
and we were gone in the month of March, so
Okay,
Oh.
that's.
so that
probably
may have just.
what happened.
been the
Hopefully
reason
somewhere
why.
warm.
Yeah,
And then
we're winter Texans is what we are.
Adam, the city administrator, can go.
So then Adam, can you explain the payment side of things? Okay,
And forgive me or correct me if I missed any of the things that you mentioned here, but the interest for 2025, so the calculation actually includes interest from the date of this meeting to the end of 2025. So that's maybe why it didn't calculate to the number that you had mentioned.
So October 14th.
October 14th through the end of 2025 would be that first interest. The notice that you get is very strict by Minnesota statute in terms of the language that we have to use in that to properly notice people of this hearing. That's why it doesn't read very well. We do follow up on the council approval of the assessment with a more layman's terms version of how you can pay that when those dates are, where to make that payment. In terms of if you do sell your house prior to this being paid off, that's usually something that a prospective buyer, their title company will run a search on a property and identify any outstanding assessments. And then that ultimately becomes a negotiation point between you and the buyer on who ends up paying for that. So it can continue on to the new homeowner in that situation if the two parties agree to that. So there's
So-
nothing state that has to be paid off at the time of sale, but that's usually a selling a buyer negotiation.
So you're calling it, assessment versus a lien? Because basically what you're saying is that it has to be satisfied before you can sell the house.
No.
no,
it's not.
Mm-mm.
So you can choose to sell your house, and if the buyer that is purchasing your home
Right,
is agreeable to assuming that,
and what if they're
then
not?
then it will remain property. Otherwise, you as the seller or them as the buyer.
Exactly.
pay it off.
Exactly. So what you're saying is if that buyer says, I'm not responsible for that because I wasn't living here when that took place, you are now responsible for that. And if you say, well, I'm not responsible for it either because I'm selling my house.
Maybe a different way to put it, if it's not paid off at the time of sale, it remains with your parcel and it would be paid by the future owner.
Okay.
I think one of her other questions, Adam, was how does she pay it? It's with the taxes.
Correct. So, if the council were to adopt this, at the meeting tonight, at the end of November, city staff is sending this with all of the different properties, to Wright County. They will then insert it into their system and it will bill as a line item on your property tax statement
Okay.
each year. And you won't actually get an invoice from the city each year. It will be included on your property tax statement.
So how do we pay for 2025?
You would, pay
Come.
Wright County just like you would with your property taxes.
What if we've already paid our property taxes, which is already October 15th? They're due tomorrow.
For 2025.
Right.
You're asking.
Oh, for 2025. This doesn't happen until 2025.
Right, the first payment wouldn't be due until your 20.
Okay, I misread it then. My apologies. Okay. All right, I guess sort of answered.
Look for another letter that will hopefully be a little clearer. on
Okay.
Where and how you can pay it if you want to.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right, thank you very much.
And
Thank you.
are they able to, just for Mrs. Johnson, are they able to come here and pay? You talked about this different letter will be sent. But-
If people do choose to prepay, and not have it be itemized on their property tax bill, do that at City Hall, just across the street. Ask for somebody in finance, receive that payment, give you a receipt for that.
Okay. So you could either or. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, any other public comment?
Hey, Corey Thompson. I'm at 89th Street Northeast in Otsego there. I called, I think I talked to Ron a couple weeks ago. My driveway has a really, I mean, it's like that. I'm almost scraping coming in the driveway because that lift was so high. I'm almost at 6 inches of lift on our side of the street because the ditch is so deep. And I just put the driveway in 2 years ago and it was cut crooked. I got a standing water now. Every time I wash the car on Friday, it's just puddled at the bottom of the driveway. So I have a hard enough time getting it in there in the winter when it was flat.
What's the address?
14851 89th. And we got a lot of that combat gravel. I mean, it's steep still. It's not even,
Is it a
Flush
gravel
wall.
driveway or bitumen?
no, it's pavement. It's,
Pavement? Okay.
yep.
So, you know, of course, it might be difficult to get the contractor back to get the extend the driveway and the slope, the lessen. But I'll have to give you a call and meet with you on site, Andy and I, and see what can be done or needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just put that driveway in a couple years ago and I don't know, but I think I talked to you because I said they lifted my driveway up 3 inches above my grade as it was, so. To
You
level.
must be in Hall's Edition where they raised the
Yeah, they raised it a lot there. 'Cause,
3.5 to 4 inches. probably.
yeah, and when they came by with I was actually driving home when they were putting the gravel down. And it's very dirty gravel. There's a lot of big chunks in there. And I can't even mow up to the street right now, because if I get anywhere near it, it's going in the lawnmower.
Yeah, that's the recycled material.
I know what it is.
We tried it.
Yeah,
Try to, you know, it's supposed to be pretty uniform, but of course it might.
yeah,
be
there's
some-
big chunks of pavement and nothing's gonna ever grow on that stuff. It's
Well,
it's toxic. to
It's
the
not
weeds.
intended to be,
I know that,
topsoil,
but
it's
I mean,
supposed
the
to-
neighbor's got weeds growing across the street.
Build
She
it.
had an immaculate lawn and now it's just full of weeds and I, like I said, I can't get my lawnmower up the ditch anymore to mow, so I can't get out in the street.
but we are out there putting some topsoil down.
I did see that.
Okay.
They stopped at our corner.
Okay.
So, but I mean, it either it needs to be smooth or I'm gonna have to do it myself. I mean.
All right,
I-
let have Andy and I, we'll get. it.
Okay, yeah, I just want it to be you know, I mean, every once in a while, I gotta drive through the ditch to get started. I can't even do that, so.
Well,
Just too
you
steep.
know, this is what this meeting is for, is to come forward and let us know if there's some issues and see if we can rectify it.
Did you leave your
Yeah.
info? Okay,
So,
so Ron, you have that on your list that
Yep.
you'll be going to Mr. Thompson's house?
thank you.
Thank
you.
you. All right, any other comments? Any other comments? All right, we will close the public hearing for this and bring this back up to council for discussion and possible adoption. Ron, it sounds like we've had some issues with people's driveways. Obviously, it's a concern, but following up with these residents needs to happen.
Correct.
And it's also disappointing to hear that we are made aware now that people did not have access to their homes too. So, as you said, going forward in the future, we need to make sure that that's,
Yeah.
and I know this is a unique situation with that being a U-shaped road, but they shouldn't be stuck in their homes.
Yeah,
So-
it's easier, of course, to take care of these items while the project is ongoing, but we'll work with the contractor, take a look at the property owner's issues and see what we can do to rectify them, hopefully yet this year.
All right. All right. Council, any other questions or comments?
Mayor,
Yes, Ryan.
there's a couple properties on the list I'd like to take a look at. I don't know what the easiest way to do that would be. Maybe if we want to pull up the map or something.
Okay,
Because so reference number 8, I think council can see that that one is considered unassigned because that is a vacant property. And I think in other parcels that we have that are indicated as vacant, we've excluded those from the assessment. I just want to make sure we're being consistent.
Mayor, the other ones that were vacant were owned by the city. So they were then not assessed. This one has a property owner and could be developed into a lot. I think that's a difficult lot to develop just because of the slope and the amount of fill that would have to go in. If I recall that number 8 property, I think it's the same owner as number 7. if I'm
It
not
is, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
You're right.
So I guess the council can look at it as they please, but it is a separate lot owner of, that of record that has a building ability status at this point until we determine that it isn't. It isn't a wetland, but it is a very difficult lot to build on.
So if I look at the Halls map, there was one that was exempt because it was a tax forfeit. There's another was exempt because it's vacant, but I believe there's an owner on the vacant one in the Halls.
Yeah, I think that one has very difficult finding septic system site within that lot. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac.
Yep.
And it's, we've had people come in and try to build there, but been denied because of ability to find a septic site.
Okay. Okay. The only other one would be back on the Vassar's Oak Grove. Number 47 is also vacant on this map here. It's 37, but on our list it's 47. That one's probably a little bit of a different situation because it does have a driveway. But there's no property, there's no building there.
I'm sorry, 47, but you said 37?
Well, 47 on our list, it's
Yeah.
37 on this map.
Okay.
47 though has a name to it.
It does, but it's not an occupied property. But it does have a driveway. It was occupied at one time. I think it had a mobile home or something on it.
Yeah, it's Tom Becker's old house, and it was taken or forfeited when he went to prison because he blew himself off cooking meth in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So we're gonna get the $1,000 out of them then, or?
I lived for 3 years. flagged as buildable in February. It floods every year because when Sally lived there, he dug it out. I was probably 3 or 4 years old, trying to make trenches so her house wouldn't flood. And they killed her on everything, and she ended up having to move and just let it go.
So I don't know if
So-
we want to keep these two on there, but I just want to make sure we're being consistent with the other ones that are being excluded.
But if it has a driveway, I'm gonna look to Adam and to Dan on this one. If it has a driveway, then it is a lot. So somebody could buy the property. I mean, this, just because the gentleman is
Correct.
not occupying it currently.
Mayor, it's a lot of record that looks buildable just from the aerial photograph. No reason that somebody couldn't acquire it and build a house on it. So it does benefit from the street being improved.
Now we know the history though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't get that from the property record.
All right. Anything else?
Mayor?
Yes,
Okay, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. Motion to adopt resolution 2024-77, adopting an assessment.
there's a second.
Second,
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Tina. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Ryan.
in the state of Minnesota, special assessments need to pass a three-prong test in order to be considered valid. All three prongs must be satisfied. In the opinion of this council member, using special assessments for road reconstruction fails two of these three prongs. Number one, the property being assessed must be receiving a special benefit. As these are public roads and anyone can use them, they benefit everyone. If we were to remove any particular property from this list, as we have done, the road in front of their house would still be constructed. Number two, the amount being assessed must not exceed the increase in value that a property receives as a result of the work being done. It is my observation that redoing the road in front of your house does not increase your property value. This has also been said by other members of this council from the dais. When we look back at properties that have had the road in front of their house reconstructed, the value of their home does not increase relative to the homes that did not have reconstructed roadways. The third prong is that all properties assessed within the same class must all be treated the same, and I believe it is clear we are doing that. In order to charge special assessments, state law requires that we have to send out multiple notices, hold hearings, have our attorney review documents, have staff prepare reports. These things cost taxpayers money. And an internal analysis by our finance department shows that in all likelihood, the act of charging special assessments costs the taxpayers more money than if we had just used the general tax levy. This council is choosing to increase the tax burden on our residents for no reason. On another item tonight, we have an assessment roll for a list of delinquent utility bills. That list has gone up 36% since last year. That is a strong indicator that people are facing economic difficulties. Of the properties being assessed, 26 of them, roughly 18, will have their city property taxes, 18%, sorry, will have their city property taxes more than double as a result of this action. I cannot in good conscience support that, and I will be voting no on this.
Dave, can you comment on the process and the procedure of this evening?
Well, Mayor, I can just tell you that appraisers do find benefit for a road reconstruction project. The typical example is if you're in the market for a house and you have two identical houses, one on a brand new road and one on a potholed old road, which one would you want? You want the one on the new road. So that indicates there's market benefit to having a new road. As far as characterization of a tax increase, a special assessment is not a property tax. They're two separate categories. The special assessment is collected with property taxes, but it is not an increase to the property taxes.
Thank you. All right, is there any more comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-1. All right, moving on to item 4.2, proposed assessment roll of unpaid special charges. I will turn this over to our city planner.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing to consider assessment of unpaid special charges under Minnesota statutes 429.101. This is related to code enforcement for citations that haven't been paid in accordance with the provisions of the city code. Just to review briefly, the process the city follows for code enforcement is based on complaints. City staff does not actively search out or seek to prosecute violations of the city code. We only react when such issues become to the point where someone has raised it to the city's attention. Then it becomes basically the city looking to review the matter with the property owner with the intent of gaining compliance. All the complaints that the city receives are anonymous. Again, it's a city versus property owner situation that doesn't necessarily include the complainant. We can track these complaints via permit work software with the administrative special assistant in our office. The process that we follow involves 5 steps. The first is that we, upon receipt of a complaint, either via phone call, email, or the website, will inspect the property from the street or the adjacent property with their permission to see if there is in fact a violation. We'll photograph that if it's available. If there's any illegal construction involved with this situation, that work that would otherwise require a building permit, the building department can issue a stop work order at that point so that there's opportunity to review it. But otherwise, if there is no violation, we close the record and make note in the file. If we do find a violation, what we do is send a step 1 letter, basically advising the property owner that we believe a violation exists and request that they contact city staff. Our letter outlines what we believe the violation is, what would be necessary to correct the violation. It doesn't mention at this point anything regarding penalties or enforcement. This is advisory and welcoming contact with city staff so that we can try and resolve any issue amicably between the city and the property owner. They have 10 days in which to contact city staff to follow up on this matter. If they do and we can resolve it, we'll close it. Otherwise, we'll move to the next step, which is to re-inspect the property to determine if the violation is continuing. And we'll document that as necessary and we'll attempt to contact the property owner. We then, if the violation is continuing, issue an administrative notice, which is a template form. Again, states the nature of the violation, the specific city code that is being cited, and then outlines the potential penalties involved if the problem is not abated. Again, we're welcoming the opportunity to talk to the property owner within 10 days to try and resolve this without any further enforcement action. And again, if the violation has been corrected and they never contacted staff, obviously we close the matter. If we still haven't resolved it, we move to the next step. If the violation is continuing, again, inspecting the property and documenting the situation, attempting to contact the property owner. And if it is in fact continuing, issue a citation, which again outlines the violation in the city code, this time imposing a $200 administrative fine for violation. We can issue additional citations basically each day that the violation continues, but we don't do so. We basically go at that point to a 2-week cycle of inspecting the property and with the expectation that at some point the property owner is going to contact us and work with us to resolve this matter. Again, if it's been resolved, we close it. If we've issued a citation, the property owner does need to respond within 15 days. We will try and resolve the matter with them. They do have the right to appeal the citation to argue their case before an independent hearing officer that there is no violation of the city code. If it goes to the hearing, the property owner has the opportunity to present their information. City staff would present its side of the information, including documentation and the city code references. At that point, the hearing officer can either dismiss the complaint, extend the time to resolve it, or uphold the citation. Our practice has been to work with property owners after a citation has been issued to resolve the issue. If it's done so in a timely manner, staff will administratively waive the citation and move on, satisfied that the corrections have been made. The purpose of the public hearing tonight is for unresolved or unpaid citations that were previously issued during 2024. For these applications, the appeals period has lapsed. So the property owner has been noticed of the proposed assessment hearing. that's being connected tonight. The purpose of this hearing is not to discuss whether or not a violation occurred or whether the hearing is, or the citation was justified. Again, that process is closed at this point. So the proposed assessment would include the administrative fines, which is a minimum $200 per citation. There's also any costs that have been incurred by the city for abatement, such as if the city had to mow the property for long grass, etc. And then there's an administrative fee charged for assessment of the unpaid fines to the tax rolls to be paid over. The proposed assessment rolls were noticed to the property owners. They had until October 4th to pay the unpaid citations by without incurring the administrative fee. If the council adopts the assessment roll this evening, they have until November 15th to pay the unpaid citations without interest. Otherwise, those assessments would be certified to the county and paid over like property taxes in 2025 with the 4.4% interest. We have had contact with the last property owner on the assessment roll at 10470 Kaler Avenue. Have reached an agreement on when they will abate their violation. They also have an additional outstanding citation that's not on the assessment roll. So that action prompted them to, again, contact city staff and offer to comply with the provisions of the city code as requested in the few citations. And so city staff would be agreeable to removing that from the assessment roll. City staff's recommendation is that the assessment roll be approved. Following the conduct of the public hearing, there's the possible action to adopt resolution 2024-78, which would be amended to remove the reference property.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will open the public hearing. This is the portion where you can come to the podium, and this is regarding the proposed assessment roll of unpaid special charges. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak? I'll ask again if we have anyone that would like to speak regarding the unpaid special assessment. And one more time, if anyone would like to speak. Okay, we'll bring this back up to council for discussion and adoption. Council, questions?
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Motion to adopt resolution 2024-78, adopting an assessment for unpaid special charges.
Second.
And just for clarification, that's with removing the bottom.
Correct, removing the bottom resident.
Are you good with that?
And yes, and second.
And Audrey, you have that noted. All right. All right, motion by Tina, seconded by Jeff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on to item 5.1, Otsego Waterfront District.
Thank you, Mayor. Modern Construction in Minnesota had submitted a PUD development stage application and preliminary plat for development of property east of Highway 101 at County Road 39. That application had proceeded through the Planning Commission and came to the City Council at your meeting on June 22nd of this year. The application involved development of the site with 150 multiple family dwelling building that included also retail, office, and restaurant space as part of a mixed use concept. With the application, they were proposing to subdivide the property with a preliminary plat. The council denied the application at your meeting in June based on findings that didn't concur with the proposed building height, the floor area, the dwelling units not complying with the zoning ordinance, and the provision of adequate off-street parking on the site. The zoning ordinance provides that once an application has been denied by the council, it cannot be resubmitted for 1 year from the date of that action. There are exceptions provided by the zoning ordinance, first being that the applicant could have withdrawn the request before the council voted to deny it, so thus council hadn't acted on it at that point. Second, the council can agree by a 4/5 vote to reconsider the application if you make a determination that the circumstances surrounding the application have changed to warrant reconsideration. Modern Construction in Minnesota is requesting reconsideration of the application. If approved by the city council, this would proceed forward, basically submitting a new application that would go to the planning commission for public hearing and then come to the council for final decision. The applicant's proposing that they would revise their plans at final plat to address the change in circumstances that they're offering to have reconsidered. And those being that the building plans would be revised to reduce the height of the structure to 5 stories above parking. That would be a 6-story building down from the 7-story building it is today. With the flat roof, that would make it approximately the same height as Guardian Angels. The building plans would be revised such that the floor area of each individual dwelling unit complied with the requirements of the zoning ordinance. And then the site plan would be revised to comply with the off-street parking requirements as determined by the zoning administrator. We discussed during the application that as a mixed-use development, there's an offset in the peak hours of parking between the various uses. So you can't use just the straight calculations by the zoning ordinance. And the discussion with the initial application was what should that number of stalls be on the site to ensure adequate parking for that first phase development. So the developer would agree to the recommendations of city staff in that regard. So the possible action for the city council this evening is to vote to reconsider the PUD development stage application and preliminary plat for Otsego Waterfront District based on the changed circumstances. The applicant, Jesse Hartung, is here to address the council. And again, just a reminder, this does require a 4/5 vote of the council.
Does the applicant wish to comment?
Good evening, everybody. Jesse Hartung, Ogden Street, Elk River, Minnesota. I think Dan summarized it pretty well. Invested a lot of time and effort into this project that I was, a little shocked. I think it was clear I was shocked it was denied. But in order to try to make this work for the community, we've got to make some changes. And so we're going to make those changes and hope that we don't have to wait a year to resubmit. So tonight I asked for at least 4 of you guys to agree to the changes and look forward to hopefully making this project happen next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council. So Dan, I have a question on this. Obviously, reading his email to us, it talks about him addressing the items that I had concerns with. I'll speak just for myself. This means that he'll go through the planning process again.
Correct. This is essentially an entire new application. The prior application was denied. So this is starting from step 1, moving forward again.
Okay. So what, I guess, just looking at email, it sounds great, but I'm just, I guess, reiterating to Mr. Hartung to make sure that when this comes to the planning commission, then to the city council, it's complete. I think there was a lot of gray areas that we felt, even though you gave us your word, we wanted to make sure that it's on paper. So, and that we can see it. So that would be my comment to it.
Mayor,
Council?
can I sort of piggyback on that?
Mhm.
Am I understanding correctly that the changes that are being proposed here wouldn't show up until the final plat?
Madam Mayor, that's the applicant's proposal, that essentially the additional conditions of approval as written on the screen would be imposed on the current plans that were, or the previous plans that were submitted. So the applicant wouldn't revise his plans in resubmitting this. He would submit these plans and then would add these 3 conditions.
And I guess what I'm saying so that's what Ryan's
Yeah.
piggybacking on, is that it should come to us prepared. Done. I think that that's where we struggle with that. And, I know Mr. Hartung may say you've put a lot of money into it, but it seems as though those plans were never complete or what we expected. And again, I'm speaking for myself, so I don't know if Ryan's agreeing with the
I would concur with that. Yeah.
And I would as well.
Sure. No, go ahead, council member.
Madam Mayor, I was just gonna say, I think having the submitted revised plans prior to a final plat would be important for, I think, council, planning commission, everyone.
Agreed.
Yeah, I guess I'll just voice my concerns and be a little blunt, right? It was approved by planning commission, right? We worked with city staff. You guys have experts here. They understood it. It's 100% common. I've seen a million of these things from everybody from Costco to little companies that there's conditions of approval, right? Now you guys denied it and said you didn't like the building height. You said you wanted to see parking. And you said you wanted to see those units either renamed or changed in size. So I'm saying, okay, let's do that. I don't think it's a big ask. I think everybody's intelligent here and can understand that if I say I'm gonna do that and submit that with final plat, how is that any different than any other plat that comes to you guys that's approved with conditions, right? These conditions, if anything, have been, pretty cut and dry. So I fail to see the logic in that. I think it's onerous, and I think it's doesn't give me a lot of conviction that this was approved one time already, right? So now I go spend another 10, 15, $20,000 and how much time to bring it back, and then there's another concern. So yeah, my request is that it's 3 conditions. City staff understands it. Planning Commission already approved this unanimously. Previous councils have approved this, and I don't think it's that hard. I think we're asking for something that's pretty common. But again, it's just a request. It's up to you guys, and we'll see where it goes. But I do humbly ask for approval on this tonight, and I don't think I'm out of line. You can talk to the city attorney, talk to members of the community. I sat in on some of the stuff with you, Mayor. I mean, it makes 0 sense unless there's something else going on behind the scenes, that's driving the disconnect between Planning Commission, city staff, and the community and you guys. I'd love to know what that is, but you said why you wanted it denied. We said, let's correct those. Submit them with a final plat so we don't have to waste more time, potentially push us into 2026, or just walk away from the project and put the land up for sale. So it's not a big ask. Thank you.
Comments from staff on that?
Mayor, it's the council's discretion to ask for the plans if you want to see them. The city does approve things on condition as a routine matter, but obviously the concerns raised during the previous review and the application even prior to that, we basically put in these approvals that what is being approved is the plan submitted to the city subject to these conditions. So we try and be as explicit as possible. If the council wants comfort and assurance as to what's being approved, that's what the plans demonstrate most clearly.
Just a quick question. One of the items on the building height. Am I understanding correctly that even reducing it one more level still won't be in compliance with the zoning regulation?
So Mayor, the zoning ordinance would currently limit structures to 3. By conditional use permit, the city has approved 4-story buildings, 3 above parking. Guardian Angels is a 4-story building, and then the pitched roof puts it up to basically a 5th story in height.
So this would be,
When it's a conditional use permit, it's not necessarily a variance. It's an allowed exception that the applicant has demonstrated that they can increase the height of the building over the specifications of the zoning ordinance without causing negative effect to surrounding properties.
right?
And as a matter of clarification, so, we can easily update the plans to say studios instead of 1 bedroom. I mean, that's that piece. The parking's already been submitted. The engineering's been done. So the 318 number that came up previously was a number guided by Planning Commission in a discussion with those guys, productive discussion. So the parking's there. So what you guys are asking is for me to update the floor, which, takes a lot of work. I mean, there's fire exits, there's elevations, a lot of stuff involved and a lot of time to drop the floor 1 level. I think as a point of clarification, every other piece of that is, it's there. So I think we can all imagine what it looks like with 1 less story. Thank you.
Also, comments?
I guess I'm having a little bit of trouble with that because it seems to me like we would need the plan at some point anyway. And I certainly don't want to incur, have someone have to go through a process and then we get all the way there and then we're still right where we are. So to me, I think we have to look at the plan that's in front of us. And it sounds to me like we might still be off on the building height, and I don't want to cause someone to have to pay a whole bunch of money and then we're still not within the restriction or within the zoning ordinance. So Mayor, I don't know if you would, if this would be a possible solution, but it sounds to me like if we deny this, it puts them in a whole another year of waiting.
Mayor, if the council doesn't approve reconsidering the application, they can't resubmit the same application until June 22nd, 23rd of next year.
If we decided instead to not make a decision on this, could they reapply for the reapplication?
Without altering their application, no, they can't. They need the council to
approve that.
approve reconsidering the request.
Even though the scope that he's presenting changes enough, but he would still have to. I guess I'm struck, I mean, again, I appreciate the email, but we usually see things and I can agree with you that we put conditions on things. So I agree with you on that, Jesse, but it just doesn't look like we should be actually seeing what your product is. I'm struggling with that. So and council, again, I'm speaking for myself, but you know, again, you can show us your parking because we saw it on the map and you said, I'm not going to do this, but now you're saying you'll do it. So the building's going to have to be drawn either way, correct? If you're going to build it or not. So is that, I mean,
It would get drawn prior to final plat approval. There's a lot of steps between now and then, including finishing up some regulatory stuff, engineering stuff,
Okay.
Finishing up financing pieces of all that. The financing can't go forward until preliminary plat is approved. So, you know, I have the option of saying, okay, let's potentially spend 3 or 4 more months trying to get these plans updated, brought back to you guys, hope for approval. And again, tens of thousands of dollars, which may not come. And I have very little confidence at this point it would come. So what I'm asking is put the conditions on there that meet what you guys want to see. Let me continue to move forward on the other pieces of the puzzle that have to fall into place so that when we do come back with final set of plans, you know, that includes the revised height, which includes different parking. I mean, all this stuff, there's a lot of work that's involved behind the scenes. You know, I can do all that work with the confidence knowing that A, preliminary plat's approved, B, financing's in place. So when we come back to you guys, it's ready to rock and roll and start.
I guess to me, I'm looking at the cart horse thing. And you see it differently than I think we see it. Or I will speak for myself. We want you to be successful. We want there to be a good product there. I guess I'm struggling with the fact of why wouldn't you just do the plans, have it in there? Then there's not an option for us to say, we're going to add these 3 conditions with.
Well, Ryan just now raised concerns that whether or not he would approve it. He just said, I think we're still up. He doesn't understand this is a conditional use. You're clueless. I'm sorry, Ryan, but it's not outside.
Not the first time someone's told me that.
I mean, it's a conditional use. So right there is the reason why I spend another $20,000 in 4 months to come back for Ryan to say, yeah, we're just not there yet. We need to go another story. Right. I mean, it's absolutely insane. So we can fight this battle in public. I can sell the land and move on, or we can all work together and build something amazing for this community.
I think in my defense, that's why I would like to see plans instead of a couple words on a piece of paper, right?
The words are legal documents, Ryan, that are upheld by your guys' as lawyers.
I mean, an email.
It's not an email. This is a proposal you're voting on. It's conditions of a plat. It would be a resolution. You're not approving a higher building. You know, I mean, this is what is insane to me. Why is it that I can understand this and that other people can understand this, but there's some major disconnect up there with city council? And Tina, just for the record, you know, it hurt my feelings last time when you said, I'm not committed to this community. I mean, do you remember saying that?
I do.
Yeah. And do you still believe that? How much money have you spent on this community? Huh? How many businesses have you built in this community?
None.
How many houses have you put into this?
How much money you made out of the building to build?
I've actually lost money on some of them for my clients.
Okay, we're going to keep it.
So
Keep it here.
Keep
Keep
it
it
here.
up front to council, please.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Brittany.
I guess, Dan, I guess I'm looking maybe to you and to Dave. Traditionally, would we ever approve something or move forward with something here without having the exact plans in front of us as to what something would potentially look like when they are done? I'm asking because the reason why is because, again, legality reasons. I think we can have a conversation and we could say, yes, we're going to decrease the height of the building. We're going to have parking. We're going to change the name of the wording of the apartments. If you do all of that and you decrease the size of the height of the building, does anything happen to that coffee shop or the lobby, or are there other changes that are going to substantially change your building, what you are putting, the design of what you've already presented to us?
Well, we're losing the top floor,
So that's apartments
correct?
and no
Wasn't there-
longer the
didn't you have-
second
about
business.
restaurant?
You talked
And
about
the
second.
bar.
restaurant.
The plaza's all the same. The proposal is to lose the top floor. So the apartments and rooftop amenities have to go. There's no space or height for them.
I just asked because, again, I don't want you, I think that at least I can agree with Madam Mayor that I do think that it would be wonderful if you were successful here. It's not, but I don't want you to come back and then there's all these other changes and let's say I'm not here and whoever's not here and then you're in a pickle. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Like,
live that.
believe it or
We
not,
had-
I'm trying to actually,
Brittany, I appreciate
work with
that, but we had, we had concept plan approved. We had the project actually approved previously under a bigger massing and a taller building. It expired and then it came back and was denied. So I actually 100% understand that. You know, what you're saying you're trying to prevent, you guys have actually already done to me. So
But for clarification on that too, that expired and that wasn't our fault on that. That was,
I'm well aware, Mayor.
Okay, I
I've
mean,
worked
I
with a
think-
lot of cities, Mayor. I'm well aware that typically a letter gets sent out. Hey, are you planning to move forward with this? You know,
I
but I agree. And that's why I've submitted another $10,000 application and
I just
improve the
want that
conditions.
noted because we have residents here, so it doesn't, I don't want to make it look like we're not being helpful to developers. You let that time frame expire. So, which is why you had to start again and come back. So. All right, other comments? Dan, can you give me an example on if I'm struggling on this one to see have we faced this same scenario ever?
Mayor, not concerning floors of buildings, but
Okay.
like I said, we do with conditions on a regular basis requiring, alteration of plat layouts, et cetera, that ultimately do come back through final plat. Bottom line is what's the city council's comfort level in reviewing this, reviewing this application? Do you need to see the plans to feel comfortable when it comes back to the council to vote? Or do you leave it to staff and the developer to resolve by the time final plat comes back?
I think it'd be in everybody's best interest to have all the plans. You have your adjustments and your builders and your money decided. The council has everything, or then his plans go through planning commission to make sure everything is met. And then it comes, all that satisfied, then comes to council. I think he should have his plans.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
What do you need us to formally do?
Mayor, my suggestion would be to,
Withdraw it.
since we don't have that in writing, I would actually still make the motion to reconsider it, then vote. If it fails by 4 to 5, by less than 4 positive votes, that's fine.
Yeah, so I think the record should probably be clear that the applicant did walk out of the room and say he was withdrawing it, but I also agree with Dan that there should be a vote. That was not in writing. I don't know if it'd be binding or not, but there should be a vote on his application to have it reconsidered.
So if we do a possible motion, what do we motion through what it says, and then do we deny this motion, or do we?
If you don't support the motion, vote no.
Then you wouldn't make a motion in favor.
Right. Right.
Council comments, otherwise a motion.
Would we be able to make a motion rejecting the consideration?
Was that what we did last time? And then for our,
No, last time you motioned in the positive and then
Yeah.
all five voted against it.
So let me try to wordsmith this, see if, see if this makes sense. Motion to reject allowing reconsideration of zoning and subdivision application by Modern Construction of Minnesota, Inc. for Otsego Waterfront District, based on the determination that the circumstances surrounding the previous application have not changed significantly.
second,
Okay, motion by Ryan, seconded by Jeff. Is there any discussion? This is a legal one for you, Dave. Since we don't have it in writing, we are making the motion. There's a second. We have that on the floor right now. What options does the developer have on this?
Well, I was thinking about that question as you're holding that discussion. I think the question would be if he were to resubmit something else. I mean, this, I think, was basically resubmission of the same thing. If he were to resubmit something else, the question would become whether there was a substantial enough change for that to be treated as a new application, or whether it would be the same as the one you just heard.
Right.
If it was substantial enough to be different, I think it could be treated as a new application.
So with him having plans and specs of it being drawn up and being the lower floor, so again, this is just an email that we received.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I couldn't comment for sure until I see what he was to submit.
Okay,
And I get that he probably doesn't like that answer, but if it was substantially different from the previous application, it could be considered as a new application.
And so, and sorry, but then
Yes.
he would be able to do that before the June 22nd. Otherwise, June 22nd, he can just submit for a new application, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
okay.
Madam Mayor, that's essentially why I asked the question, because who knows what he's changing, and then is this gonna be considered a new project? What will we have in front of us? So, I'm just curious.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other questions? Since this is a unique one for us. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, moving on to item 6.1. I had pulled, this is from item 3.4. On the second page,
Mayor, no,
okay,
I've identified the
Items.
property on Kenzie Avenue.
you have items 5 and 6 are the same, but they're not combined, so I just,
It is the same property, same address, same phone.
yes,
for Utility account. What happens sometimes is we get a notice of person filing. We are legally required to stop it and secure payment of that.
Okay.
So we place a lien on the property.
Yep.
Start a new account.
Mm.
okay,
Correct that there are two accounts for it.
okay. I just wanted to make sure if there was an error clerically, if we needed to combine those, because when I was scanning all the thing and making sure they were the same name, same address. Okay. Okay, well then there is not an error. Thank you for making that clear to me, why we have two for the same address. If there's no other questions on that, then I will make a motion to adopt resolution 2024-71, adopting an assessment for delinquent utility bills.
Second,
Motion by Jessica, seconded by Tina. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we are still on city council reports and updates. Does anyone have anything?
Madam Mayor, I mean, we could talk about the pumpkin patch on Saturday. That was a good turnout. We had a lot of kiddos come through. The weather was a little rainy in the morning.
Yep.
but A little chilly, but everyone seemed to have fun, and all the parents were very grateful. And
Yeah,
as
it was a
always.
great event with the weird weather this year. The pumpkins, we were a little concerned what we were gonna get, but the pumpkins were great. We actually had a local resident bring up 3 tractors.
Mhm.
So that was a new kind of fun amenity for the kids. You let them climb on them.
Honk, lots of
And
honking.
lots of honking of the horns of the tractors. But yeah, Park and Rec staff did a great job. Lots of families, lots of good compliments. So, and yeah, Mother Nature has decided to only rain on like our 2 events, the festival morning and then pumpkin patch. So I don't know if you guys talked to Maddie when you walked in, but she said if you want it to rain, just come talk to staff. We'll plan something for a day and then it'll rain for us. So,
Yes.
but yeah, please pass along to them that they did a really great job. All right, anyone else have anything? All right, staff reports and updates. Item 7.1, consider scheduling a special meeting for review of utility fund budgets.
Yes, Mayor, Council, staff would request a 5:30 PM. Monday, October 28th, to the drinking water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater operating equipment.
October 28th. Regular council meeting, we'll just meet before. Okay.
Does that work for everyone?
Yes.
All right, then I will call for scheduling a special meeting for October 28th at 5:30.
Second.
Motion by Jessica, seconded by Brittany. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Mayor, I will not be here
Okay,
on the 28th.
Audra, can you have that noted? If you have any questions, contact staff ahead of time, please.
Yes.
We're still on staff reports and updates. Sabrina.
Thank you, Mayor. I do not have any updates.
Okay, Adam.
Mayor, none for me.
Audra.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let everybody know that absentee balloting is very busy at City Hall, and on Friday we start direct balloting, and that's where residents can come in and put their ballot directly into the ballot counter. So that's the 18 days before the election. So just be aware that they can come in and vote without an envelope.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, apologize. And then the photo contest winners will be here at the next meeting.
Nice. Great. Okay. Dave.
No updates, thanks, Mayor.
Yeah. Excuse me, Dan.
Mayor, no update.
Great. Ron.
Just want to go through the projects again.
Okay.
Development projects are going well because of the weather. It's been very good for those projects, especially in the clay. Zockman Meadows of Otsego and Tanglewood are all going at the same time here. We have the Otsego Creek Restoration Project set to start fairly soon. The directional drill for well number 11 raw water main, that's well underway and almost complete. And then in the near future, well, the Queens Avenue Storm Pond storm sewer directional drill happen. That will just take a couple days, but in the near future.
We saw the road closed sign sitting on the side of 75th and Odine.
Yes. So they're gonna make
Keep
that
it.
water main crossing
Okay.
across 75th Street, and that should take about a day, and then it'll be reopened.
Okay.
So there'll be the detour signs asking people to use Odine, 85th, and then back down Page to get to the same location that they were at.
Okay.
And when is that? When?
That's 75th Street north of Meadows. So
She's asking
But
when.
when will they do that?
they made the connection today with the valve, which kept the couple properties online. So they're gonna start work on that tomorrow.
Okay, so road will be closed as of tomorrow. Is that
Yep,
correct?
for a
They
day
just-
or two.
Okay.
And then it'll be back to gravel, but hopefully they'll get pavement curbing in fairly quickly here before, of course, the season construction is over.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay. Wright County.
Evening. Just 2 points I kind of wanted to touch on. That's been kind of happening in the past couple weeks. One, kind of a PSA. We've had 2 incidents of signs being stolen for political purpose, from political signs being stolen. They seem to have been all around Parish. and in that 95th circle kind of area along there to the park. So just ask and remind the citizens that that is theft. And is, please respect people's property and freedom of speech. So, and the second thing is past couple weeks, homecoming, I guess, was happening. So there was some TPing issues. In two of those incidents, we did catch some of the juveniles. So there was consequences for that. So until the next game or whatever.
I think it's just I think it's a homecoming thing.
It is.
So
Until the next event. What is that? The winter dance or whatever. I can't
It
remember.
is a homecoming thing, yeah.
yeah,
We had it done.
Other than that, everything's kind of business as usual. Any other comments or questions or concerns?
anyone have anything? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if no one has anything else, then a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tina, seconded by Jeff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The meeting is ended. Thank you all for attending this evening.